organized. 3度目の猫王国との戦いもあっかり決着はつき、町は平和を取り戻しました。1週間後、猫たちは割と真面目に修行に励んで、行くぞー。
I get to do what I want.
So,
This might be a really good architecture overall to, you know, like continue pre-training on or whatever, or continue like experts model on. This is like just a really good overall architecture, you know. And it's like already initialized and everything.
Bloated as hell, LDJ. Where are you gonna run it?
My Mac Studio.
Oh, you're gonna run 314B on your Mac Studio.
Yeah,
okay.
I could. Yeah, like 250 gigs of memory on a Mac Studio can fit this in Q4. This in
It's,
Q4 could literally.
it's already 4 bits, right?
no, it's 8-bit.
No,
It's 8
I'm saying so 314B in 4-bit would be about like 150 gigs roughly, and that could easily fit on 250. It would be as fast as
inference, yeah.
Yeah, it would be as fast as Llama 70B, and then with speculative decoding, you could maybe even get more with what was that thing Together actually just released? They released a new speculative decoding method actually. Like it's like a 10x speed up in no, not Medusa.
I sure fucking
Sequoia.
missed that.
Sequoia. Yeah, they just came out with Sequoia.
Yeah, I'm just honestly surprised at the size of the model for like is it the same as the hosted model or not?
I'm not sure.
It doesn't say it's chat tuned. Does anyone in the audience actually use it? Yeah, the full Grok. There was Grok 0 and Grok 1. What were the previous benchmarks for it? I forgot. But yeah, this looks really inefficient for what it is. However, it's still really good for us to have it because, yeah, it has been trained on old Twitter stuff, I'm assuming, and it's not bad things to be trained on. So it'll be good for making training material and stuff, but it's not something that's practical for everyone to run, given its performance and intelligence level.
Okay.
Hey, dudes, I didn't want to put anyone on the spot.
Okay, cool. I posted the GitHub and stuff, so I'm trying to find out this is vocabulary size 128 times 1024. So it's 128K vocab. That's what I'm getting from that. Embedding size is 48 times 128.
Okay.
So widening factor 8, Q heads, Q value heads. Okay, because it's 64 layers. This is interesting. So yeah, like 2/3 of the model is just the MLPs, right? I'm assuming it is. Like we don't actually know. Just looking at trying to guess from it, because it says sequence length 8192. So does that mean it's 8K? So 8K context, 64 layer model with 128K vocab. Okay, that's kind of what I'm getting so far. Oh, Yam's here.
I'm gonna get back to work, but y'all be easy.
Yeah, I think we can shrink it down so that people can run on 2 24 gig cards, like 810s, 3090s, or 4090s, and then that's about it. As to how well that's going to work, just by chopping off most of the experts, let's see.
Oh, we actually did it.
Yeah, they did actually do it.
You will downloading right now, right?
Wojciech, I would add you, but with that bio, I'm kind of unsure because it's a recorded space. All right, YOLO. We'll add Wojciech. Just behave, okay?
Let's see.
It's kind of funny that this is like such a massive model, presumably super capable, and the only screenshots of chats I've seen with Grok is just like people posting the dumbest shit.
Summaries of your Twitter Twitter for you page. Yeah.
Anybody got an estimate on like how much juice it would take to run this model exactly?
You need at least like if you want to run in 4-bit, you need at least like 150 gigs of RAM, or I mean more like at least 160, 170 gigs of memory.
Okay.
And then 2-bit, which is probably like the smallest you could actually run it on at all, but it's gonna sacrifice quality. That's gonna be like at least 96 gigabytes of memory. I think you'd need. Models training from scratch.
Oh,
It's
okay.
not something that you could just apply to existing models, and it's
Sad
like
times.
yeah.
Yeah, that's still 2-bit. It was 1.58. You could compress it in storage, but when you put it in RAM, you would still have 2-bit with that. And the performance actually wasn't that far off. It was pretty close to Llama CPP 2-bit. And they left the last weight at float 16, so it ended up actually being not that great. It actually ended up being larger than just using Llama CPP 2K, but it performed a bit better. So it wasn't as amazing as people thought.
I see it's in JAX, so is there, I feel like JAX is pretty decent at parallelization if you were to split it up, right?
Interesting that they work with JAX, to be honest.
I mean, it's so big that if they had to train it, they'll probably just go for a giant TPU pod.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
I mean, now that this is like released, I wonder how long it will take for Grok to put it on their LPUs or anything like this. Change it if it's possible.
I don't know if they have enough to run this. Remember, it's going to be 618 gigs, probably like around 620 in full float F16. So that leads me to assume that this has been optimized for running inference on 8x H100, because then you have for context or like around 32, and for and the rest would be just running inference. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, Wojciech, by the way,
Actually
just feel
download
free.
it yet?
Feel free to. No, my computer crashed. It just took a lot of space. And yeah, actually, I'm gonna fire up a new node now. But it was downloading really slow as well. So
Yeah, because everyone, we all downloaded at the same time, so.
Quick question. Why did they just follow the switch transformer architecture that Mistral followed with Mixtral? Because like they could have done more like active parameters or like active experts, or tried like just a bit slightly different tricks, but it seems like they just copied Mixtral's architecture.
I think it's the first one they tried. It's Grok 1. So, just went with the safe option, I assume.
Right.
We have any idea what was it trained on, or we have no information at all?
I don't know. We'll see when we ask it to speak like LDJ or or like any of us here, how well it can impersonate us.
They said a
You should
custom
do-
training stack on top of Rust, on top of JAX and Rust. Okay.
Should ask questions about like things that we talked about in spaces that weren't recorded, because I'm pretty sure they were using that. They might not have been recording it, but they definitely were capturing the text.
Hey Felix, what's up?
Hey, I just wanted to talk about the Grok chips quickly. I really doubt it would work with, at least with 16-bit inference, it would need about 3,500 Grok cards. And that's probably well beyond what the
Yeah,
It's
same. There's gonna have to share stuff like 256 SRAM across them. Yeah, so you said 3,000. Yeah, something like that.
No, 256, more like 210, and some of that is for the model needs for like using it for themselves. So I think you have like around 200 megabytes of usable memory per card only. So like 5 cards per gigabyte.
Okay, so 1/5 of a gig, 314. Okay, yeah, that works out to 5,000 something. By the way, Wojciech, we're not doing hands buzz, so just speak if you guys speak.
Yo,
Okay,
check out the post I tagged on the Jumbotron. It's VB posted the performance, like the benchmarks of Grok 1 compared to other models.
It should be like Mixtral, somewhere in the ballpark, right?
Yeah, but yeah, I mean it outperforms 3.5 GPT 3.5 on these benchmarks it's getting.
About the performance, from I'm a guy who is using the Hugging Face models, yes, and I assume this one is very large and needs very lot of resources. Anyone can paste in the chat some, I don't know, cheap remote GPU servers or something like that.
I also wanted to add some context. I'm not sure if you know, in the latest episode with Lex Friedman, Elon was saying that they used 8,000 A100 GPUs for training.
No, but for running.
For inference, you mean?
Sorry? I mean, I assume this is like Hugging Face models, but bigger. You can run it, just or not. Or yeah, maybe I don't understand. What do you do after you download it? Download it.
Yeah, I mean you can run it, but like you'll need a lot of like RAM to actually run it. So it's expensive for its performance. Like if we just have like a metric of performance, like dollar per performance or something, right? Need like a huge model to actually solve them.
Yes, and this is my question, because, for example, you have AWS services, but these are very not cheap, yes? Maybe someone knows some, it doesn't have to be a very performance, but cheap. Someone knows any service that for some little money provides this computation power.
I mean, like, one of the speakers is probably going to get it running pretty soon.
Yeah, if you a bunch of our cards just got pulled, so we don't have as much compute. But if you are ever compute short and you have something you want to do, there's a form in my bio you can fill out, and we will try to get you on our cards. Just for future reference, I guess. But yeah, I think this thing, I was trying to do the math. I don't think we have enough to even run this guy. So I will leave it to the experts, I suppose.
I might be able to train it with LoRa, but I don't know. You need to actually implement it now if you want to do it. But yeah, it's a heavy one. It's a pretty heavy one.
Jeremy Howard's lab, Answer AI, 2 A100 cards with QLower.
You could, but like you're gonna have to implement that code for this model, because it's like I think they released it in JAX as well. So I don't know JAX, but yeah, like that's not compatible, nice, I guess, with the like transformers packages and shit.
JAX is kind of a pain in the ass.
On the model, it should be possible. You know, in model where you pay per minute or whatever per second, it should be possible to run this.
It'll still be kind of pricey, I think.
They give you $30 for free.
Yeah.
Can you share the link to this in the chat, please?
Yeah, I'll grab all my GPU stuff that I can find. 1 sec.
Honestly, I just wait until like someone hosts it and well, actually, if you're gonna pay $30, I guess just pay the
You get $30
pay
for
for
free, so.
pay for Grok, you know, like on
Yeah, but
Twitter.
in Poland there is no grok. That's the problem.
Oh, okay. VPN.
I don't think we get it in Canada either, or we could soon.
Yeah, we don't get anything in Canada.
Yeah, I think it'll run fine if you just chop off the experts, leave only 2. Will actually be interesting to do, like, to compare similarities across all the MLPs, all the expert weights, and kind of figure out what to chop and what not to. Similar to what the Mixtral paper did. Because yeah, that's the only way anyone's gonna run this in 48 gigs. But I don't know, what are you guys gonna use it for? Like, I think it's really good for like summarizing stuff or getting just getting something that doesn't sound like ChatGPT, and going out of distribution a little bit more.
I think it would be cool to extract the
It's also
experts.
likely going to be used for benchmarks. Now, if you're one of those sort of well-funded labs, you'd probably kind of assume they're going to run it. So to publish any benchmark, to say, hey, you can, this is the largest Apache 2 model. Anyone can use it, like Apple and all these other guys. So that's potentially interesting.
There's a much larger Google model, Apache 2.
But it's kind of bad, right? I mean,
Yeah,
like, this is very
it's
old
bad, but
model.
it's the Google model is the largest. It sucks.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
there
larger.
was the Falcon 180B, I think, that released last year, and it wasn't trained enough, so it didn't perform really well.
Yeah, we don't know how well they trained. Yeah, it's
Well,
unfortunate they didn't say.
kind
Actually,
of
we
like
should know the
Grok
number
as
of
well.
tokens.
Kind of like Grok, right? Because it's pretty undertrained for its size. But like it's been around, and it's because of it, because you'd rather just like work with more convenient models and improve their performance through other means other than just scaling. So I'm predicting it's going to be the same case here. The novelty will wear off in a week or so, and people won't really use this.
Thanks, Greg, for the link.
I imagine it being desirable for data generation if you manage to fine tune it on a certain
Plenty of other models to do
subset
that.
of data.
Plenty
Sorry?
of other models to do that, and for much cheaper. Like, keep in mind, it's the dollar per token, right? Like you're going to be spending so much more on that for not much more performance.
Yeah, I
So
think
what's the benefit of just putting all that effort into building an infrastructure, into learning how to make it run, into figuring out all these different details, just to potentially get an extra few percentage on performance?
Clean data you get out.
Oh, that's
And
fair.
it's the best model for that.
This is true.
Yeah,
that's a good point. But and then the other thing that I was thinking is like Enterprise is doing training, or at least like X as an enterprise. I don't think we've really gotten a look at like a somewhat recent model that's normally behind closed doors. Since we sort of like have that architecture now, we can go do open source iterating things on it if we wanted to start getting into the really big guys kind of thing.
And just a question to this Grok open source. I mean, this closed source, let's say, Grok has access to internet. Yes, it's like immediate access to current events. And this open source model is what, like normal this Mistral or something local model that will not have the possibility to connect to internet, or this is something different? I just have basic knowledge,
Yeah, you'd have to build that separately from the model, I believe.
Yeah, that's the
It's actually
retrieval
interesting to
augmentation.
see if this model was trained on Twitter. It should be possible to detect that by prompting it with sort of
Yeah,
you're taking Elon tweets as the most easy
Oh,
way
yeah.
and asking it to, similar to how New York Times kind of hacked GPT-4. We should be able to say, hey, these are Elon tweets maybe from 4 weeks ago, and see if it actually continues correctly. And that's one way to detect if it was actually trained on Twitter.
If this is the case, it's amazing. I mean, we can just extract the experts out of the model, because who is going to run a 300
well, yeah, I
B
think there's
model? But
some good
wow,
developments in that space too, where you can extracting data sets from models. Like, there's a whole field of study, or at least 2 papers that I can recall. So
Put in your private messages, see if it can complete that.
And I think Lily here is the only one that has actually used it. So, Lily, what did you think of
I
it, like, in your use?
I mean, I heard some people who monetize their accounts, and that's really like their focus of being on X. I heard them talk about how they were using it, and apparently, like, I actually think somebody wrapping it. But there's like a whole part of X that's looking to optimize and do content creation and social media strategies. So if it's coming from Grok and is in something, packaged in a way for everybody for it to be easier, that like I think would actually be big, because I think there's some people that at one point were like selling something for prompts and consulting and this and that. I don't spend a ton of time there on Twitter, but basically you can go in and see like your account score, and it'll tell you what to delete and not to delete. Can try and do things like in your voice, right? Like all that kind of stuff. So you can go back and forth with it.
Yeah, I think it's good to have these around, because just training off of GPT-4 data or other models data, you kind of end up in that limited distribution, and you can often tell that it sounds GPT like, especially with GPT-4. With Claude, it's a lot better. It's sounding kind of natural. So, but I think once we all use Claude long enough, we'll also be able to tell that it kind of sounds like Cloud. So it's a good thing to have different other models for data generation, especially ones that are
People haven't taken the time to like put it in their voice, right, or go through it before they post it. So yeah, like I know that some of like OpenAI had access to Twitter for a while, right? So they can do voice of some things, and people can play around with things to make it more their voice. But something like from Grok, I think, might make a difference, perhaps. I think it's a little, if it's capable of doing more than it was before.
Okay. Oh, I heard Levels IO. He used it for a CBT therapy bot, but then that business did not go well for him, or it did not earn that much revenue. So I thought that was an interesting use case. Yeah, we'll see. I think from most of us, I don't think anyone's gonna run this in production to serve customers. I think it's mainly going to be either internal testing or data farming, since it's legally safe to do it with Grok.
Yeah, do you think that if it was 16 experts, if they made it wider, it would have been it would perform better? Um, like if they just doubled 16 experts and 4 active experts at a time.
I think so. I think if you have 4 active experts, then yeah. If you have 2, I'm not sure. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you need to train it way more, but I think so. But yeah, it's huge on its own, so I don't know. Really weird that it's not way better, to be honest.
Yeah, because it's under trained for its size, right? Like if they just had trained it for uh probably like double that like if they had trained it for much longer with a lower learning rate, it wouldn't overfit too much, and it would be more performant.
Stuff as well, like trying to find things. So I'd like kind of test some of that and see if it works a little bit better. Because there seems to be some limitations now with some of the things you could do with the platform, even as like premium plus or whatever.
Yeah, but that's an entirely separate system. We're going to test it. We're going to see if it knows, because that's the part that a lot of people are curious about. Like, has it been trained on stuff we've talked about on Twitter Spaces? While that may have been anonymized, likely has, is it still? We'll have to just check it out because people are curious. Hey, Kandre, how's it going? By the way, we're not really doing hands. Just feel free to speak if you want.
Oh, I forgot I raised the hand actually. I wanted to change the subject a little bit. I wanted to see if you guys had any wagers on to who will do the first blog post of we took Grok and we distilled it. I'm wagering like Delbricks.
At least the Mistral 7B that was trained on Grok outputs, but that one was very, very safe. Like it didn't do any, it didn't give any strange responses. So it was very RLHF. There will be a lot of data generation, but most of that people will just post on Hugging Face. So whoever's going to generate data off it, they're going to post. So overall, it's really helpful at the end of the day, just to have different data sources. It's not the smartest model out there, but it's not dumb either. And yeah, I think it could be useful.
It might be unique because it was trained on things that no one else trained on. So
Yeah,
it might
that's
be
something
really
I'm
unique.
leaning towards. Is like the not necessarily. I mean, data set extraction obviously, but yeah, just like a the particularly large model with a particularly diverse data set is pretty helpful to have just in the ecosystem, even if it's not like specifically useful itself.
And extracting the experts out of the model, which might be on their own pretty solid base models. I think this is a good direction because you get 33B. Here we have it.
I mean, we do.
We have Code Llama, which is good for code, but anything.
I think E34 kind of beats it.
E34 for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, E34 for sure. Yeah. But yeah, it might be interesting to see, like, how good are the experts themselves, because I don't know, they might be really good.
So you're just gonna make a one expert out of it. That should be pretty
Yeah,
relatively
you
easy.
just take it out of the model. It's really
Yeah.
easy. You have 8 options. Just check each
Yeah,
one.
but like you're assuming that the experts are good. Um, like the experts become experts in a very kind of abstract way, right? It's not as if like one is any good in a specific domain,
Yeah.
right? Like the switch transformer architecture doesn't work like the you know building individual experts on domain specific experts or whatever. So like I don't know how you would like I FusionNet from Mistral or from Mixtrals, right? But actually no, they did it from Mistral. They took Mistral and created an MOE from it.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they might be a really good prior, and if you just further train it just a little bit, the expert might be a really good base model, and it's worth checking because we just got 8 different options and we can try. Of course, on their own, they're not going to be the best models ever, absolutely, but they might be a really good prior, and it's worth checking. That's it.
That's a good point. So, but we're gonna have to check if they're all initiated off of the same MLP weight for each expert, or they are completely different just when trained from scratch. So that'll be
if we can just remove some of the layers of the experts and like make it shallower and just train it just a little bit, like distill the model, but in the classic sense of knowledge distillation, just make the model smaller and see what can we get to. Let's say that we just reduce it to the size of Mixtro in terms of number of parameters. How good is it? Because we might get a model that we can actually use. I mean, there's so many things we can do to get this to a point where we can actually use it on a decent hardware. We just need to experiment, and I don't know. We got a gift. Let's play with it. That's what I'm saying.
hang on. I don't think 6B active experts. So at two, when you're running it at 2 experts, it's going to take up 86 gigs at int 8, and even at that point, 2/3 of the model is still the MLP weights. So 2/3 of it, let's just say it's 90 gigs. You're going to need about 50, 58, 59 to run it in int 8, 58 gigs with just one expert.
With one expert?
Yeah, because with 2 experts, it's 86 gigs, 86B. And
yeah, and you need context and well, yeah, it's a heavy one.
Yeah, it's double that. I'm gonna need 64 gigs.
Enjoy doing all this work on this stuff. I'm just gonna go back to working on actual models rather than trying to like solve this puzzle.
What are you working on now? Which model do you use? What's your go-to? If
Top-
we're
top
already here,
secret-
everyone is here.
Top secret stuff. AGI, basically. So
Graphs, bro. Graphs.
Top secret. Outside of like not transformers, right? So not transformers. Also some transformers.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I must say.
Yeah.
Space.
Oh
So
no, it's going in Grok 2's dataset.
yep.
It probably
It's somewhere in the terms and conditions, I'm sure. Like just go back through the terms and conditions. And
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Even if you don't speak, they can still if you check the Twitter app is still recording stuff. And even if you're not speaking, often it has the camera on doing like an emotions thing. So it takes stuff via.
It will mess up the data set. The next training run will have so many repeated data points and the model will be messed. Okay, that's the strategy. You cite many repeated different things on the spaces and the next grok will just be messed up. That's the strategy.
Ignore previous instructions.
Goldfish beside duck, goldfish beside duck, goldfish beside duck, say 10 times. All right. Hey Q, what's up? How's it going?
Yo, how are you guys doing?
We're just chilling. I'm not even downloading it anymore.
I had a question for Jan. Like I saw in like 2 tweets you mentioned it's an 833B. Do we know for sure that it's that each expert is 33B?
No, it's 40.
I'm still downloading it, so I don't know for sure. But from what I saw, it is. Okay, maybe you missed it. Maybe you know.
Okay, so because I guess also I think so Technium who said that. So if it's the case that it's 33B, then it means that probably the experts were initialized using Grok 0, in the same way Mextral used Mistral 7B.
Wait, what is 43B?
33B. It's Grok 0. If you see, like, if you read the blog post in like November.
Oh, the original Grok, yeah, the original Grok
Yeah.
prototypes were confirmed to be like 33B, yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned it. So if that's the case, that Grok wants a little bit and get an LLM that's similar to Grok 0.
I don't.
Doesn't it seem like it's not?
No.
It seems like it's not 33.
That's true, but that's why I asked, because I saw, like, I think Jan and Technium tweeted it, so I wasn't sure.
That doesn't add up.
Well, it could.
They could have just added more layers, or they could have like
Yeah. Well,
have like
33 times 8
like
is not
longer
supposed to
embeddings.
like
Yeah, it's like
even if they
240,
are
I think.
33 times 8
40,
it's not actually
40 something.
yeah, exactly. It's not actually 56 billion parameters though. It's only 47 because
Yeah, it's just
yeah.
I haven't checked like the complete architecture.
Initialized like Mistral, right? Like it's a much more efficient strategy.
But what I'm saying here is that it seems like the actual amount of parameters is
Let's
much
see.
more than
Give me
you would
one
end up
second.
having if you actually made like
Gotta turn my
you know,
Chrome
to
down
feed
there.
forward
There we go.
of
There it
Grok
is.
0 33B and then made it
Let's see.
make it
Oh,
make
he
it better.
disappeared.
Yeah,
Because
that
at the
doesn't add up.
most,
The model and print the model like architecture.
Wonder if I
Actually, no,
should,
in their GitHub they have all the layers listed.
yeah, if you guys want to
Yeah.
download 100 or 300 billion parameters, be my guest. Yeah. I'm not even bothering downloading it right now because I know like
Yeah,
whoever
I don't have the juice to run it.
whichever other you guys downloading right now are gonna have it downloaded way before I do.
Out of gigs, and then remote machine ran out of gigs. I'm not gonna fire another one up just to, well, at least until there's more seeds. But I don't think it's, I don't think it's initiated because that doesn't add up. 'Cause we're calculating. Okay, VB calculated 86B when, like, if you go all the way back, 86B active parameters. So that's the KQV way. Because again, it's a Mixtral.
Oh, the
arc.
tokenizer vocab size is like 130K2. That's like 5 times more than Llama.
Oh, maybe it's
Yeah,
not.
but that's just one weight. Yeah, it's 128K. So I don't think it's that. Whoever asked, it's not.
Well, if the entire self-attention block is being shared between all the experts, I think it's very feasible the current weight count, especially like Mixtral's, I think like 48, 47.
Yeah, Mistral's 47.
Yeah, and do we have the embedding size of the self-attention layers? Let me go see if I can find that.
7B, right? No, it's 47B total.
No, it's 47 billion parameters in FP16. It was roughly 90.
Here, I'm getting
no.
apparently this guy Andrew Kingao, he apparently posts something saying tokenizer vocab size is 130K for, and this is for the new Grok thing. And then embedding size is 6,000, 6,144.
Yeah, of course. Oh my god, the GitHub does not have the actual initialization of the model. It just shows the code from it.
Okay, 46, 47B at F16. The equivalent
No,
here
no,
would
Mixtral
be.
is not 47B at F16. I cannot emphasize that enough.
Oh yeah, the full one is 96 gigs.
Just how do we share posts? Because like I have one with like all the info about vocab size, context length, etc.
There's just in the bottom corner of the post, there's a share button. You can click that, and then you can share it to the space.
Okay, I'll do that. Thanks.
Yes, that's the main benefit of Mixtral. You can get token speeds of like 40 tokens per second, 35 tokens per second on an M3 Max with Mixtral, which you can only really do with
Yeah.
But yeah, it's because the most, if I remember correctly, the most flops in evaluating the attention really is in the feed forward layers that come after the self attention, not in the self attention itself. Obviously helps the throughput.
Yeah.
Though I could be wrong here. Someone please correct me.
No, you're right. You're right. It's exactly the same architecture as Mixtral. Not exactly. It's not the same vocab and stuff. Vocab's 4 times larger, but yeah. Anyway, it's not the previous math does not add up. It's active parameters because it's only running the 2 experts. So this means it would still work if you just chopped off. They could be completely different from each other.
Oh.
Also, I just shared the. Sorry, go for it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just saw a comment that someone said I was yelling in their ear. I am very sorry.
I shared the Technium post, like which mentioned 8 times 43B. So I'm just curious, like if anyone knows where he got that from, because
MLP weights, and they're not going to be 33 billion per hour. They might just be like
30 or
Okay, sure.
yeah. So it works out to 86B active
Wait, why
parameters.
wouldn't it include the QKV weights?
No, it's just in the way he
wouldn't it
did the
include
math.
attention weights? When you say 8 by 33B, you don't mean 8 by 33B being just the MLPs, right? Like you mean like each block.
I think that's what he meant.
Had this again could be wrong. Sorry, I don't mean to destroy ears. Is like imagine your normal Mistral 7B, and then for Mixtral out into 8 different experts at each layer, and that accounts for why there's 47 instead of 56 parameters. So there's kind of like central. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, that makes
not
sense.
initiated.
But like that would still be.
Yeah, but it's about close to 30.
No, more than
I
two
think,
seconds.
yeah, I think it's going to be
much more than that.
29 each per MLP, and then the rest is it's completely different. We just got to check it out if the experts are initiated off of the same thing or they're trained from scratch. They might likely be trained from scratch. We don't know until we test that.
Yeah. Open question for Mixtral 2. Like, what do we expect to see from that in terms of the improvements, in terms of architecture or
Whatever big stuff Llama 4 or Llama 3 has that is like maybe, more exotic.
No, more specific, not like because like whatever they do.
Okay,
We don't know what
multimodality.
they're
Well,
gonna
okay,
do.
a multimodality. Possibly maybe incorporate like somebody just said. And at least image multimodality. Hopefully at least like maybe video and or audio multimodality as well.
Would it still be an MOE?
And like ring attention or Mamba hybrid or any of these things, like all these things are still compatible and can gain
Other option
benefit
is
from
that they
mixture of
go to
experts.
the edge device case
So
and
like
release a very small but capable model.
Yeah, in my opinion, Mixtral 2 will probably be still an MOE. Uses something like what is it, Mixtral Next? I think the last model, Mixtral Next, as the base.
Okay. So like no, like from what it sounds like, no one expects a leap in terms of architecture or performance.
Well, I'm not sure how many of you guys have heard. Have you heard of DeepSeek 16B?
Yeah.
What was cool about it is that it basically was able to perform the same as Llama 7B with only 3 billion activated parameters per pass, because each one of its experts was only like 1.5 billion parameters or whatever. So I do think what we could see for not Mixtral 2 or whatever, but the future MOEs could be wider MOEs for faster evaluation.
I think 8x is kind of the spot for how wide you can make it. Because any more, and you're probably not going to see that much benefit. And if you go a lot less, if you go 3, you're only picking 2 out of 3 per layer, so you're not widening it that much. Yeah.
LoRa's that basically let Mistral beat GPT-4 on individual small tasks. And what you could do is you could have a bunch of those LoRa's that are dynamically loaded by an expert layer. Eric Hartford, the guy who does the Dolphin models and in the server, was talking about an idea like this, where you have a bunch of LoRa's packed together in a model trained for specific tasks, or perhaps learned via gradient.
No, that's a
Bro,
pretty
you're talking to
no.
a group
Yeah.
that had a lot of experience exactly with this. To a group of people that a lot of experience with this.
Yeah, people here made that like last year. Yeah,
Wasn't there sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead.
Okay, wasn't there a paper recently that was about efforts at specific tasks?
Yes,
and then
Fuse LM,
the
right?
router. Yes, I think that's it. So yeah, that'd be your idea, but with the LoRa's instead.
Yeah, and Professor Colin Raphael released a paper for scaling it up to like 1,000. This is a well-known thing now, and one member in the group, Maxine, she hasn't caught on as much, is because when you're trying to switch experts in and out, and you want to do that 30 times per second, and you have like 60 layers, now you have what, like 1,800 or like, yeah, you have a few hundred weights to switch back and forth every second.
All the weights, all the LoRa's onto the GPU.
Yeah, but you got to still apply the LoRa and expand it, and then you got to do that for every single layer that you widened.
Got it. Again, this is me being
For
a
every
bit of an
single
idiot,
token per
but
second.
yeah. Oh yeah. Do you expand the LoRa dynamically during the map mole, or do you expand it beforehand and then do the map mole?
No, you got to do it. You got to put it in memory beforehand.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
We could ask. There's likely newer research on it, but not one that we really know that works. Unless you go for smaller models, then you're fine. Yeah, and inference over the network has been pretty difficult too, because then you have a whole other PHI, OpenMPH, all of that. It's just a lot more complexity that you add on top, and that will happen. There will be like 1,000 LoRa expert models. It's just for now to have one good big model. This architecture has worked the best for. Honestly, I think the model is just too big.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that for a sec. Like, the issue is I have what to translate to real performance gains, because if you look at its benchmark scores, it's mildly better than Mixtral, and it pales in comparison to Mistral Medium and Quen 1. Is the point of Grok 1 given these benchmark scores, and it's so titanically big that fine tuning it is I'm not gonna say impossible, but like who's gonna be able to inference it like commercially offline? So I wonder about the usefulness of such a larger model in this context, especially with like a lack of state-of-the-art performance games.
Yeah, like it would only be the speed of training would be around the same speed as something like training a 70B model, which they've already done.
I'm not too.
It would be like it would be only like 20% slower than a 70B model, something like that.
Because of the mass parallelization.
Well, because of the 80 billion parameters active per forward pass.
Oh yeah.
Whereas Llama 2 70B has 70 billion parameters active for every forward pass.
Oh yeah, duh. I just forgot you loading them onto the GPUs for each forward inference pass that you don't like encounter with Llama 70B.
You need to have at least like 160 gigabytes in terms
Does
of the
NU
actual.
Does NU have that kind of a GPU resource?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to say, but like, well, actually, yeah, like News has had access to, like, there's the Yarn paper that used way more resources than that. Like when News did the Yarn paper, that for its Grok model, you'd maybe only need like 16 H100 80 gigabytes.
Yeah, and if you're going to do a QLoRa of this, 318B, 160, take about like 70% of that. You're going to need 4 A100 80 gigs. That's like the cheapest thing you can run to.
Just a few A100s.
Yeah, actually, even Miguel Teixeira, and then also Eric Hartford, and I think also John Durbin, they've all released like 120 billion parameter variants of like fine tunes, and that would actually be slower to train than this would be to train.
Well, I'm pretty sure Eric Hartford's 120Bs. You just do pass-through merging with a merge kit to create like a Franken MOE. Where
what John Durbin has done with some of the larger models, like actual like training QLoRa.
John trained
yeah.
120.
John Durbin is the person who makes the Ouroboros models and
wait, he trained on a 120B. Whoa!
I'm
He
pretty
trained 180
sure
too.
I'll
Yeah.
either him or Miguel. Yeah.
Well,
but
yeah.
like I mean, it's not that crazy if you do like a QLoRa on one.
Yeah, 120 is huge.
Yeah,
It's not 70.
I mean, I dropped a 169
nice.
merge kit.
Nice.
Yeah, but the point is like,
There was no.
and like those 16 H100s I'm talking about, I mean that's more of like like I think it was 16 or 32. You could even do like full fine tune of something like this. But with Q lower, like this is not like too out of the bounds of what we could train.
Yeah, so minimum, just like back of napkin, back of head calculations, you need 4 80 gig cards to do a fine tune, a Q lower fine tune. Any less than that, you're really cutting it close.
What about the whole model? How many?
You multiply.
Isn't that multiplication by 12 assuming that you're using atom and not like eta factor?
But why would you use eta factor?
Eta factor is only for diffusion, right? Well, it's good for diffusion, right?
Well, you can use eta factor, but it's just bad.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but atom does
awful.
triple the atom triples the memory requirements.
Yeah, but there is a reason everyone is taking that, because atom is.
My question is, like, outside of the novelty factor saying you were able to fine-tune Grok, is there really a point to do so? Like, it doesn't seem like a very good model from what we know of it, especially for its size.
Look, it's still a big model. It depends. If they have trained it a lot and it's just not doing well, if this has had all the pre-training and it's just not performing that well, there is a case there for doing stuff with it. So there's just more for data gen and
Yeah, I was just gonna say that maybe, if we train it a bit more, like do some fine-tuning, it's gonna get better. But when it comes to practicality, since like for open source, we're known for being GPU poor. I doubt there's gonna be many people who are gonna care to use it, even if it's like better than most LLMs we have today.
We will call forth flops from the quantum foam while base Beth Jesus and Ilya summon forth eldritch demons to perform parallel processing for us. He's in the process of calling forth demons from the quantum foam right now. He'll be back soon.
Ilya was uploaded to the GPT.
there was some guy in a space who said he knew Putin, and then people were like, if you could ask him a question, what would you ask him? It's like, well, where's Ilya? that's the question. I think we could get him to contribute to open sourcing. He just seemed very internally conflicted.
Definition of open sourcing the emails.
No, he's literally said publicly before, even like in documentaries and interviews, like that he thinks any prior attempts of open sourcing were a mistake. Like even them open sourcing GPT-2.
Yeah, and to him, open means like, I know the benefits are open, not the weights, something like that.
Well, that's like the open fun of them for not being open source, but they have been consistent since the beginning of defining open source as defining open AI as like not necessarily open source, but it's just something that benefits all humanity that people have access to through API or something.
Yeah,
I
overall,
wonder,
this is good.
I must focus on cost efficiency as well, so that because if they have like a $1,000 per month subscription to use like a super advanced system, right? Then that's kind of like not benefiting everybody because only like so many people could afford that.
Well, and that's the issue, right? Is that like $20 USD might be trivial for one person and like a massive deal for another. So they kind of like there's definitely like a missing piece of the architecture. Like they need to be able
I
to.
feel like they're gonna keep it under $50 a month. I think they're probably gonna have like some type of cap around there. And I think for the most part right now, like even if you live in some of these like, you know, second world countries or whatever, you could usually afford $50. India that have internet access that can't afford that, but like, yeah, I think it's like at least 50% of the population. I want to say that could afford that. I could be wrong though.
50 USD
Mo-
a month in disposable income.
Most people don't make like $50 a month.
Unless India got a lot richer since the last time I checked.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think that's.
Also, like data like 3G or whatever, right? Like not through actual Wi-Fi.
I assume that like if they actually that like it's either the line was bullshit the whole time, or like there's missing pieces of the architecture that they need to put in place in order to actually make it like available to everybody. That's kind of like the thing that I want. People for whom $50 a month is trivial, and also the people for whom $50 a month is like their entire yearly budget. Like, how do we get those people to be able to work together and like share resources or whatever? But I don't think
Just to say
OpenAI is
something,
working on that.
just to go back to Grok, Vic found something pretty interesting about the tokenizer. It seems that by default, the digits.
Weird.
What do you mean by control tokens?
So like if you check the second post I shared, there's like there are a bunch of tokens which represent like control 1, control 2, control 3 inside the tokenizer.
Oh, interesting.
What? I might be out of my depth. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, for example, like the Grok fun mode, it probably uses like control 5 to make the rest of the sentence like fun mode, maybe. I don't know.
That's a good call. Okay, so then we got a test for vulgarity or humor at each control. Okay, that's
Well,
good.
the fine tune of Grok has probably one of.
Looking into that more.
Wasn't Galactica trained that?
Sweet, I'll go take a look.
Yeah, Galactica had work tokens. They're literally just called work, and they had something for the molecular, and they had some for code too, I think. Also the /s token that also came from Galactica. There was a list of like 10. It's actually that's a good spot right there. Good job.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part is the fact that the numbers are split into individual tokens. So maybe it's worth doing checks on like math evals to see if they're better.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Well, we do have their math.
Are they good?
It's like
They're
5 or 6.
Better than GPT 3.5 by a margin.
Okay, so yeah, it's probably.
And
not very
GPT
good.
3.5 has probably 20 billion parameters, but
2.9% compared to GPT 3.5, 57%.
you want to
And
look at the.
it's
You want to look at the.
23.9% compared to 23.5%. So it's not like
Okay,
it's
so
not a crazy amount. The GPT-4 is 42.5% on math. So double almost.
Yeah, that's not actually all that good. It's what it is.
Yeah, not worth my time. Sorry, Grok, I know you're listening. But like Elon didn't do a good job.
I mean, he did release it as Apache 2.0, so.
Well, that's the only good thing, yeah.
We're appreciative of that.
Got a feud with OpenAI, right? So he's trying to make a point.
Oh, AK just posted the weights are also on Hugging Face now, so. Yeah, okay. You guys want to do final thoughts and wrap up the space? I don't think we have a whole lot more to talk about until we actually get like 4-bit versions.
Oh my god! Wait, guys, it's Alpendale.
No, they have official ones too. But if you wanna post the one from Alpendale, feel free to.
No, it's literally the same. It's literally the same.
Okay, so on that note, we'll go in reverse order and do final thoughts and wrap up. Asaf, since you just came, what do you think? Any final thoughts? You just got here, but what are you gonna use it for and stuff?
So
yeah.
It seems that it's not much better than. You hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear it fine.
Okay. Yeah, so it seems that it's not much better than Mixtro if you look on the results. And some compared to MAT or GMS8. So something that I guess the community will find out how will affect like the capacity of the model to be improved upon those like benchmark. If it's will not gain a lot of improvement, I guess it will be not that significant contribution to the open source community. Otherwise, it can have a bigger effect.
Yeah, it's not a very practical contribution, but it's a pretty big contribution in terms of data. And keep in mind, hardware is going to get a lot cheaper because there's pressure for multiple players. So this will soon be also fairly cheap to run too.
Yeah, the point was that if probably people will distill it, like a lot of it, the capacity of the model will yield the better results on those benchmark or not. And this is not yet clear.
Yep, agreed. And Nate, you got any final thoughts on Grok or any
Yeah.
shameless plug? Anything else?
Shameless plug. I've started a little startup. It's called Amazon. You may have heard. No, anyway, my actual serious final thoughts on Grok are I think the size is what impairs it being seriously useful, but and I think it calls into question whether the MOE architecture works well when scaled up. Because Mixtral was such an amazing gain over the original 7 billion parameter model, but saturated it. Was it like trained according to the chinchilla scaling laws, and this is where it leveled off, or was it like Falcon 180B and was it undertrained? And I think that's going to be like, once people get access to it, we'll be able to better discern that. And maybe, who knows, maybe XAI will put out a paper.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's bad for a base model. It's just the field is really competitive now. So we take a lot of the performance from smaller models for granted and don't realize actually how hard it is to from your hackathons or
Oh yeah. Let's see. Currently the next ones between are I don't have them nailed down yet, but I want to do one to get all the people working on open source wearables or hardware and get them that are all located in SF, and then get all those people together. So if that sounds cool to you, I guess, I don't know, indicate that to me in some way, and then you can, if you want to help coordinate that, that would be helpful too. DM's open, etc. And then the other one I want to do is I have a friend who's working on an open source version of Devin, basically. I just retweeted his tweet, and we might want to do an event to kind of hack on that. Outside of that, I don't think I have anything else I necessarily want to plug, but in terms of interesting Grok stuff, oh well, I guess why, but my brain has grabbed onto this control token thing. I'm very interested in trying to figure out because I went over and looked at Galactica, and I can see like they have a thing in their README about what their tokens are for, but I don't have any information about what exactly these control tokens are for when it comes to Grok. So I'm interested to see if there is abstracted and used, because I don't think that the enormous model itself is going to be particularly useful, especially considering how like performant it appears to be, which is like not that performant. So yeah.
yeah, check out the paper on Galactica's paper on there because they talk about the work tokens in them, and I tested it with just between brackets and work like last year, and it did work. You do that when you're asking about code and stuff, but I did not do any extensive testing. So
it's interesting to hit that at the tokenizer level. Like I've done that where it's like, okay, you know, if just like send along with the prompt into the tokenizer, that's kind of cool.
yeah, it's an interesting attempt. Okay, next, Felix, any final thoughts or what are you gonna do with it?